Still the best game console intro of all time, and you cannot change my mind. Happy 20th birthday to the GameCube. Well, in the United States at least. I know technically the 20th anniversary has already passed because Japan got this console a few months before we did, and if you're screaming internally that I'm technically late, you would be correct, but I really don't fucking care. And this would also be where I would say these 20 years really flew by. It feels just like yesterday the GameCube first launched, but I was an infant when the GameCube first released. That's bound to make at least one viewer feel old as fuck, and you're welcome. I figured for this momentous occasion, why not show off my GameCube library? And you might be saying, well, you already did that last year. And yeah, I did, but my GameCube collection has gotten so much better in the year plus since I made that video. And I may as well throw this out here in the beginning of this video. I'm not going to do this in the same fashion I did with the last video last year, where I open up the shelf and show you all the cases for my GameCube games, because one, I really can't be bothered. That involves taking out all the GameCube cases that I have, and also the PlayStation 4 cases, the PS5 game cases, the Switch game cases, and then putting that all back in that shelf after I'm done with the video, and it really can't be fucked with all that trouble. And also, not all of the GameCube games I have are in their original cases. Some are in jewel cases or blank cases, because some of the GameCube games I have cost an arm and a leg if you buy them in their original case. So some of the GameCube games I just bought disc only. The sacrifices you make when you're collecting old games. So I'm just going to show off my collection via the memory card menu. Anyway, let's begin. Actually, before we begin, I'm just going to show off the games that I have in slot A, because slot A, the memory card in slot A is the one that I bought last year that has all the games that I have bought within the last year stored on it. This memory card right here is one that I had since I was a kid that has all these shitty licensed games that I used to play all the time as a kid stored onto it. And it holds a lot of memories, a lot of really shitty memories these days, because a lot of these games I really do not like, but whatever. And this memory card is cool as fuck. If you press this button, there's a light that signifies that essentially the GameCube is being tricked into thinking that another memory card was inserted into the slot. And look at this when it loads up. Here we go. 2,043 blocks available. It's essentially 8 memory cards in one. Do I need all this space? Fuck no. Is it cool to have? Fuck yes. And it was cheap on top of that, so why not go for the memory card with such an enormous amount of space that no one in their right mind is going to use up? But anyway, let's finally begin for real. The SpongeBob movie game. Now, this is actually my favorite SpongeBob game. It's not Battle for Bikini Bottom, believe it or not. And not to say Battle for Bikini Bottom was a bad game. I really liked it. I only played the rehydrated version. I never played the OG. Yeah, I never played the game as a kid, believe it or not. I may get the OG someday. I don't know. It's relatively cheap, so why not go for it someday, I guess. I don't know, but when it comes to SpongeBob games that have a lot of nostalgia surrounding, this definitely takes the top spot. It's still a really fun game to this day. Definitely my favorite of the licensed games that I played as a kid. Provides a decent amount of challenge, and again, it's still very fun even at 20 years old. Game holds up really well. This game, on the other hand, I mean, a lot of people hate this game, but I personally thought it was just okay. I mean, it has some stuff that is kind of crap, to put it bluntly, but overall, I think the Incredibles video game is okay. I mainly played this just out of nostalgia because this is one of the games that I played the most as a kid. Madagascar, same thing with this. Played the fuck out of this game as a kid, and I replayed it last year just for nostalgia's sake and to 100% the game. That's something I never did with this game as a kid. It was okay. I mean, as far as movie-based games go, it was middle of the road. Mario Party 4, I got this back in 2013 along with Wind Waker at a badass video game store I went to that has pretty much every fucking console you could name. And this is back when you could get GameCube games for relatively cheap. I still kick myself for not getting a lot of the best GameCube games back then when you could get them for like 15 or 20 bucks, but This is one of those games I got when I first started getting back into GameCube collecting when I was in middle school, and then I just kind of forgot about it until last year. I really don't care that much for the Mario Party games, to be honest. Never really my thing, but my 8-year-old cousin loves Mario Party. I let him play Mario Party 4 whenever he comes, and he has a blast. So, it serves that purpose. This is another game that I played for nostalgia sakes. Nostalgia sakes. Can't fucking talk. But yeah, Scooby-Doo Unmasked. Jesus Christ. This game was also pretty alright. I mean, I loved it as a kid, but not so much these days. Used to play it a lot. There's also another Scooby-Doo game I have on the other memory card called Night of 100 Frights. It's a little Scooby gif right there. I remember not liking that game as a kid, but a lot of people really love it, so maybe I'll go back and play that someday, if that's supposedly the best Scooby-Doo game. Remember the controls to that game being weird, but we're talking about Unmasked. Again, pretty okay game, I guess, whatever. Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. This is where things finally get interesting. This is a great game. Only played it once, beat it back in January, according to my GameCube. And, I mean, it's not as good as the first game. The first game is a fucking masterpiece. But this game has its moments. I mean, there were some parts of the game that I thought were complete fucking bullshit. Like, some of the bosses in the game were just so fucking unfair. But aside from the frustration I had with this game, it was fun. Really liked it. And I plan on replaying it after I finish Resident Evil 6, which is a game that I really don't care for, to put it lightly. And I'm only playing it again. I already played it and beaten it back in September. And I'm only playing it again just to play as all the side characters for the sake of completion, even though, to my knowledge, you don't get any achievements or anything, or any bonus things for completing all the campaigns as side characters. But I'm just, again, a completionist like that. Metal Gear Solid, The Twin Snakes. A lot of people hate this remake. I personally enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty okay. This is the only Metal Gear game I have played thus far. I may play more in the future. I don't know. And I never played the original version of this game. People say this pales in comparison to the original, and maybe it does, but the original was a OG PlayStation game, I believe, and I don't have an OG PlayStation, so alas, I cannot play the original. Maybe it's on PS Now or something, but my PS Now subscription is about to expire, and I don't plan on renewing it because fuck PS Now. Pikmin, great game. I plan on getting Pikmin 2 someday. That game unfortunately costs an arm and a leg if you're getting the GameCube version. This is a lot of fun, though. Final boss was hard as fuck, though. Fuck that final boss. But aside from that, enjoyable game. Pikmin 3 is also really good. Played that back when it released. Paper Mario, The Thousand Year Door. I have a bit of a sad story surrounding this one. This is one of those GameCube games that I really wanted the most, and it's also one of the most expensive GameCube games, costing roughly, I think, $120 or something crazy like that, depending if you want to get it like complete in box. And even just the disc is like $90 to $100. But my mom actually got this for me as a birthday gift back in March, and she got it for relatively cheap. She got it for like $70, which, I mean, isn't cheap, but compared to how the game usually goes, for how much this game usually goes for, that was actually a steal. So she got this for me, and I made it up to Chapter 6, and then the disc crapped out on me. I got an error message saying that essentially something went wrong with the game, and it's at the fault of the disc, not the GameCube. The GameCube reads all of my games like a charm. If it was a problem with the laser, I would have gotten an error message saying the game could not be read, but all the other games I have for this thing works like a charm. It reads games perfectly, so it's at the fault of the game's disc. We've been planning on giving it back to the seller. The seller says he could potentially fix the problem, and we just haven't gotten around to that because the post office always closes so early, and the post office schedule does not coincide with either my schedule or my mom's schedule at all. So who knows when we're gonna get around to getting this game potentially fixed? Who knows? I really wish I could finish this game though, because it was fantastic up until, again, made it up to Chapter 6 and the game just crapped out. I already talked about this. Super Mario Sunshine. Look, I really like this game. First time around, I really enjoyed it. Second time around, played it in March, apparently, according to my GameCube. Um, my opinion on the game kind of went down. I mean, when the game is fun, the game is fun. Don't get me wrong. It's a good Mario game, but some of the missions in this game, holy shit, just were not enjoyable at all. I would say difficult, but I think unfair is the better word to use for some of these missions, like the Chuckster mission, the Pachinko mission. I would also mention the lily pad mission, but there's a way to cheat that mission, so I never really had too much of a problem with that. Ooh, gotta move that remote. Anyway, but yeah, some of the missions really just drag my opinion of this game down. But again, it's not a bad game by any means, but pales in comparison to, say, the Galaxy games, which are far and away my favorite. Which is far and away my favorite 3D Mario games, and just favorite Mario games in general. Eternal Darkness. This is a great game. Also a total mindfuck, if you know what I'm referring to. If you played the game, you know what I'm referring to. The only regret I have is just rushing through the second half of this game, because when I was playing this game, I got this bad boy, so I just kind of wanted to rush and get to the ending as quickly as possible, because I wanted to start playing on my PS5 as quickly as possible. And, you know, I plan on giving this game a proper playthrough one of these days, probably after probably after my replay of Metroid Prime Echoes. I'll replay this game, because it was really good. I just really wanted to finish it, though, because, again, I wanted to play on my PS5. But aside from that, great game. Mario Kart Double Dash, far and away my favorite Mario Kart game. I really wish the dual driver, switching between drivers, whatever you want to call it, gimmick, was brought back in some capacity and in the Mario Kart games that followed this one, but it hasn't, at least thus far. Maybe we'll see something like that in Mario Kart 9, or maybe there will be Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC that would bring this back in some capacity, maybe. Who knows? But part of that gimmick is a big reason as to why I think this is why I consider this my favorite Mario Kart game. It's different in a really good way, and I've also had a blast playing this game with my cousins. Just overall a great game. Resident Evil 0. This game gets way too much hate. I mean, it's not my favorite Resident Evil game by any means, but a lot of people really rag on the fact that there's no item box in this game. You just drop items on the floor, and I mean, yeah, it can get kind of annoying, but I never had that much of an issue with it. I mean, if you open up the map, it tells you each floor. It tells you what items you placed on each floor, so it's not that big of a hassle. It's not like you're really hunting down for your items. Oh god, which floor did I place my items on? No, the game tells you. So yeah, it's not a phenomenal game. I have my gripes with it, but when it comes to people's biggest issue with this game, yeah, I think people are kind of crybabies about it. Resident Evil 2. Never played the remake. Heard the remake is a masterpiece. I've only ever played the OG. And my opinions on the OG, really good game. When it comes to eras of Resident Evil, definitely my favorite is the fixed camera angle, tank control, ink ribbon era of Resident Evil. That may come to a shock to some people, because my favorite game is Resident Evil 4, the first game in the Resident Evil series to have a third-person, over-the-shoulder camera view. But no, even though that's my favorite Resident Evil game, when it comes to eras in general, this is my favorite. So, yeah, this game was very, very enjoyable. Maybe considered outdated by today's standards, but I don't know. Hey, I just really love this game, and also games like this one. Metroid Prime, the first game. Like I said earlier, this game is absolutely fantastic. Love it so much. I don't really have much else to say aside from that. I replayed it last month and just had a blast. And before my second playthrough, I think I beat the game in November of 2020, I believe. I don't know why there was such a huge gap between my first playthrough and my second one. I'm definitely going to fix that, though. I'm definitely going to replay this game more often, because it's just so fucking good. Wind Waker, my favorite GameCube game. No, my favorite GameCube game isn't Resident Evil 4. Shocker. It's this game. This is also my favorite Zelda game. Wind Waker, just fantastic game in general. Love the charm, love the art style. People have gone on about how great this game is to ad nauseum, and I really have nothing else to add when it comes to praising this game, so I'll just leave it at that. This is a great game. Luigi's Mansion. The only gripe I have with this game is the fact that it is criminally short. It's still really fun. This game is a classic, of course, but just wish it was a little longer. It took me like a day and a half to beat, I believe. Maybe 2 days if I'm being generous, but I'm pretty sure it was just a day and a half. Really wish there was more content in this, but oh well, it was still really fun regardless. Resident Evil, the first Resident Evil, the remake of the first Resident Evil to be more exact. Love this game a lot. My second favorite Resident Evil game. Very close second to 4. And as you can see, I beat the game as Jill. I usually just play as Jill. I only played as Chris once in my first playthrough. My rationale when it came to picking Chris first is the fact that he is the first character you see on the character select screen. So I kind of figured, oh, he's the main guy. Because I had no clue who Chris was when I first played this game. Despite the fact that Jill is literally on the cover of this game, but I still went with Chris. But when it comes to... I just prefer Jill's story in general. I also like the conveniences that come with her playthrough, like her being able to pick locks, whereas with Chris, he had to hunt down for old keys for certain doors. And also Jill's bigger inventory space. I just always replay the game as Jill. But I do believe if you beat the game twice, beat the game as each character twice, you get some goodies, so that's a little bit of an incentive to play as Chris again. But... it's really whenever I feel up to it, because again, I don't want to deal with some of the headaches that come with Chris's playthrough. Anyway, moving on. Resident Evil 4. I've talked about this game so much. I'm sure a lot of people know that I've played this game so much. I'm sure people are sick of me talking about this game, but you know what? I'm going to talk about it anyway. This game is an absolute masterpiece. Far and away my favorite Resident Evil game. So good. Also the very first Resident Evil game I played. Actually, exactly a year ago, I got this game in November of 2020, and this game is like near perfection. Love it so much. And I have played this game 16 times on my GameCube, 17 because I played it once on my PlayStation just to be able to play the Separate Ways campaign where you play as Ada and see her side of the story, but overall, you already know how much I love this game. Spider-Man. This is based on the 2002 movie. I got this recently, and I heard a lot of really good things about the Spider-Man games on the GameCube, and I'll just say this. I really don't say it with this game. I really did not enjoy this game at all. Some of the missions were just absolute bullshit, not fun at all. So, yeah, really didn't like this one. Spider-Man 2. A lot of people hail this as the best Spider-Man game, or at least the best Spider-Man game before Spider-Man 2018, and I can definitely understand why people really love this game. I personally enjoyed it myself, but I don't really view it as the masterpiece a lot of people seem to claim it is. Again, it was fun, but, I mean, when you're comparing it to something like 2018, I mean, come on. I mean, I know that's unfair considering this is a game from 2004, but still, you know. But yeah, that's my GameCube collection, and I definitely plan on getting even more games for this thing. Like I said, Pikmin 2 I want. I also want the Time Splitters games. I want the Resident Evil games that released on the GameCube that I still don't have. Billy Hatcher is also something I'm really interested in, and probably get some other games too. I also want the Star Fox games. Yeah, how could I forget those? And yeah, and also, like I said, other games that may come across my radar that I may be interested in the future. I'll maybe pick up if they're at a reasonable price. But yeah, this is my favorite console of all time. Also the very first console I played on. And also, I just love this controller a lot. Yes, I'm taking care of it for those of you who know about how I treated my GameCube controller, how I took care of my GameCube controller as a kid. But yeah, I was lucky. I guess I was lucky when I got this controller because I got it from GameStop's website at a pretty reasonable price, like $30 or something like that. And apparently, according to reviews, at least at the time, it was a coin flip whether or not you get an official Nintendo GameCube controller or a shitty third-party controller. And I was already using a shitty third-party controller if you watch the video of my GameCube collection from last year. But yeah, I got the silver OG GameCube controller, thank God, which is also the same color as the GameCube controller I had as a kid, which was also the color of the GameCube I had as a kid. But again, for those of you who know how I took care of this controller and the GameCube, you know, you already know the fate that the GameCube I had as a kid suffered. Ugh, feel bad for it. But yeah, happy 20th birthday, GameCube. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say. That's all I have to show off. Bye-bye.